Hi, Shameless Squad. What's up? I titled this video Shameless Astrosexy, Spirituality Alerts, and Secret Gifts here. And with the angel number 555. So I apologize for being a little late to the live today. I was uploading, editing some things here on my end, but I just wanted to have a shameless chat with all of you, give you some updates with what I've been doing up to, going through with all the damn things with Astrosex. For those of you that are new, what up? I am Shamelessly Sexy Jackie Boo. I'm a former certified sex therapist and licensed professional clinical counselor, mental health counselor, turn spiritual entrepreneur and sexual wellness consultant and mental health and wellness consultants too as well. Plus psychic medium, Reiki, all the damn things, astrologer, whatever you want to call me, right? Spiritual entrepreneur fits the title more. So I wanted to update all of you. Stay shameless, no makeup on. We got my coffee. I waited to have coffee with all of you this morning. So cheers to you if you are on this live with me. Thank you for the likes and subscribes and the members that are showing up for me. Cheers. I love all of you, appreciate all of you. But I'm going to give you some Astrosexy updates here overall. And hopefully all of you can hear me. I want to make sure that everything is all good with the chat and the volume here as well, because I know that it's been kind of goofy the last go rounds. Let me just double check. Cool. I can hear myself. Okay. So Shameless God, I'm just going to put in the chat. Please make sure to like and subscribe to the channel if you are new. So, Shameless Squad, I just want to talk about Astrosex. This has been coming up a lot in my lives recently. And for those of you that don't know, Astrosex literally is such a great tool and use of astrology in ways that we can psychologically actually heal, learn about ourselves, our relationship, our intimacy, our pleasure, everything like that. And I wanted to make this announcement like this morning to just talk a lot about some of the things that I've experienced, that I've noticed when it comes to Astrosex clients, just all the things here specifically, Shameless Squad. So I just want to share with all you a little bit more about this information because it's been coming up in the live. Some of you have been asking me, what can Astrosex help with? Like, how does this work when it comes to not only just sex, but also like relationships, love, romance, intimacy, pleasure, gender? Well, I got the tea for you, boo. So let's take a sip for a hot minute. And cheers. I got my little Beetlejuice mug. So if you are here for that with Beetlejuice, let me know in the chat below. But I want to talk to you all about Astrosex and literally like my vision behind it all and really why I started this. So this was years ago when I had, I think it might have been 3 summers ago now, when I had been doing Astrosex one-off workshops for people, just telling people about that sun sign during that season and really moving forward and into exploring more about sexuality, intimacy, pleasure, gender, just all the things here specifically when it comes to astrology and how this can be used as a tool. And so what a lot of people don't realize when I talk about Astrosex, they kind of get scared. They kind of get nervous. They're like, oh, I don't want to do it for sex or whatever. I don't want to talk about sex, whatever, which is ultimately, a fear, a mindset thing, maybe some sort of energetic blockage if you believe in it, right? Because some people do, some people don't. I think there's a lot of movement and stagnation that needs to go through our body, mind, and soul spiritually, right? And so when people literally say stuff like that to me, I'm like, you're the person that probably could benefit most from these programs. One of the biggest things that I've seen with clients in the past when working on Astrosex, a lot of people don't know how to talk about sex. So they don't know how to communicate. They don't know how to speak up. They don't know how to advocate for their sexual desires or just even date nights or pleasure or how to hold emotional space here. And we can really look at each planet in each sign astrologically and understand the horoscope specifically of what that means for you. And a lot of people as well have come to me and told me like, I don't know what I want in intimacy. And that is like, it's own thing in itself where Astrosex can truly help because it's literally your sacred blueprint. When you were born here, there's scientific research studies to back this up too. When you were specifically born here, your astrology is going to tell you so much about what you want intimately, be it in romantic relationships, date nights, partnerships, love, or just even friendships here too. And some people don't even realize or get that. So if you're that person who's out there that's like, I don't even know what I want intimately with people, Astrosex can help you because it's literally going to tell you what you want, what you really, really want, and be able to put it out there and give it to other people here as well. And so this is one of those things where I feel like it's such a common misconception when it comes to Astrosex as an umbrella term, right? And I know that's how I chose to market it and everything like that. But let me break this down a little bit. Sex, right? When it comes to this, when it comes to sex, I think of sexual self-care, which I think of my Oracle deck, sexual self-care. There's so many different things here, right? So it's not just about communication, but it's about sex, intimacy, and pleasure, right? And then when you break that down, well, who are you having sex, intimacy, and pleasure with? Yourself? Great. And if it's with others, that's also great too, right? So this is one of those things to really think about when it comes to astrosex specifically. And how can I use this? And what are my relationships really telling me and showing me in my natal blueprint, birth chart, right? To understand life lessons with myself, my sexuality, my intimacy, my relationships, my pleasure, my turn-ons, my turn-offs, my sexual fears, how I hold myself back, how I restrict myself from certain things with sex or relationships or just pleasure just in general. And this can really say a lot on a psychological level here, Shameless Squad. So let me go back to my whole vision for this because shameless tangents here, and I'm just slowly getting my coffee. So if you're in the chat, let me know if you got like a warm cup of coffee or tea this morning. I know I wanted to do it this morning at 5:55. But then I was like, yeah, no, I'm not doing that. So I don't know if all of you've been feeling this change of 555, like that something big is going to happen. And we're in this year of the fire horse where it's like, if you've been thinking about something, contemplating about something, and you know that it's just right, this is the time energetically this year to just go for it and do it. And that's what 555 can represent: changes, moving forward, taking action, and maybe changing certain things from the past here. So maybe that's why I was meant to share that angel number, because I was like, I kept it in the cover photo, everything like that. But I was just like, I'm not going to edit this because I was like, I think I'll get up at 5:55. And then I was like, yeah, no, I got Cribbage Club later today that I'm hosting. So it's not a thing here. Hi, Barb, beautiful soul. I have my cozy coffee. I love it. Did you make your prosperity latte? I didn't. And I definitely could have today. But this morning, for those of you that don't know, for astrology, we're in a Mercury can see me. So this is also why I wanted to talk about this today, because the energy is potent and I'm in Minnesota here. So if you're in Minnesota, that happened at about 5:04, so hence why I thought it'd be cute to go live at 5:55 as well, a.m. And over the next 6 hours-ish or so, great time to put stuff out there when it comes to phone calls, text messages, communication, anything you really want to share within this world here, okay? So definitely use the astrology today if there's something that you're wanting to push forward, move forward with, just to put it out there. Despite Mercury retrograde, this like trumps that specifically. But move forward with that kind of goal or that plan or that action before 6 hours, 11:04 a.m. So a little tip for all of you. I'm glad you got your cozy, comfy coffee. And thank you, members. Shout out to you on the channel. I hope you saw your exclusive discount. I hope that you saw that you got access to my calendar first. And I hope that you know that I'm going to be doing lots more for all of you moving forward here. So I'm very excited. Always open to feedback with that as well. But let's get back to the story and the vision of Astrosex. So I had really noticed that there were a lot of people, a couple years back, looking to the stars in the sky, more people coming out queer, more people coming out spiritual, even myself coming out of the spiritual closet, right? Like, because I didn't want to be judged and shamed. And so I had to do like my own work and be with that really specifically, right? And in order to be, a psychic, a spiritual healer, or whatever, you really need to be pure of soul and you really need to be honest. Otherwise, you're not going to be able to be in alignment with that. I heard that from someone recently. So I apologize. I don't remember who said that off the top of my head. But I was like, that makes so much sense specifically here. I love the heart in the chat too. And I really saw, astrology for money reads. I saw astrology for synastry or couples reads. I saw astrology for love reads. I saw astrology for romance reads. I saw astrology for predictive. I saw astrology for your soul destiny gifts or for your psychic placements or fame, fortune, whatever, right? And I was like, why is nobody looking to the stars in the sky or astrosex or astrology for like sex? And it had slowly been written about more and more in different books. They were really bland, though. I'm not going to lie. They were very just your sun sign or your Mars and your moon and your Venus, right? And I'm like, what about this whole other chunk of like middle and outer planets here specifically that is a part of the rest of the solar system? And then I'm also like digging deeper. I'm like, what about all these like fixed stars and asteroids here specifically that are telling us more about sexuality and intimacy and pleasure? So it's just one of those things where it's like, what? You know what I mean? So there's a lot of devils in the details here. And then psychologically, when you look at the aspects in a birth chart. So if you ever have heard me do my, astrology of week ahead or whatever, like trines, good aspects, harmonious, happy, same with sextiles versus squares. Like that's a conflict that you're always going to have to move through during your life and a life lesson here. And even oppositions where we tend to play the blame game in relationships, right? This is one of those things I was like, why is nobody writing down, the nitty gritty of all this stuff and all these aspects? And then also these different characters, the zodiac signs, and what their chart rulers really say about the types of romance they like, or the type of gender, or if it's androgynous of a planet, or if it's like a sapiosexual individual, or, placements in the birth chart with the planets that can really describe that, right? Like, why aren't we talking about queer indicators or even kinks? And I look at birth charts and I had been digging and digging and digging. I obsess over this stuff, y'all. Maybe you know that. But I was really researching this concept more and more and more. And I hadn't learned about astrology for years and years and years and years, but I was just like, what about sex with this? And so I had been wanting to read a lot of books. And like I said, a lot of the books weren't all inclusive of all planets. They didn't really break it down, the method to the madness with everything. And it really didn't show you even about the psychological constructs of what people may be dealing with when it comes to sex, intimacy, pleasure, as well as their gender, plus how that plays out in all and any types of relationships, Shameless Squad. And so I was like, I'm not seeing this from astrologers, and I'm going to come back to that in a minute. I'm not seeing this from sex therapists. I'm not seeing this from coaches or consultants. So I want to be the person that does this and spearheads this and moves forward in this, Shameless Squad. And so when I was even watching an astrologer recently, they had used an outdated term to describe trans folks. Okay. Now, what is scary about that is this person more than likely has not had, maybe the most or the best or up to date sex and gender inclusive language or education. They haven't had as much education in the past. And that's what gets kind of a slippery slope of astrologers out there is they don't have that knowledge or those tools. And who's it going to be? Am I going to be that shameless bitch to be like, yo, just want to, email them, right? And typically I do that, right? But I don't want to be cringe in that person, but just say like, hey, this is a slur. This is a microaggression. This is something that's not okay, right? And I don't need praise for that. No, and that's not why I'm sharing this. I'm sharing this because this is a slippery slope then, because so many queer folks actually look to astrology in the sky. And if that astrologer doesn't update their language or actually understand how they could be using sex negative language or gender negative in language that's not inclusive, their clients or people are going to see that they're not going to want to book with them. They're not going to want to come back here. Okay. So then when I really got to think of it, it made me think of, well, astrologers probably are not comfortable talking to their clients about sex or intimacy or pleasure here. And if they are, it's very far and few. And if they are, because from what I could find in my research, again, it's only 4 placements in the birth chart. It's not really talking about the holistic astrology wheel of that person here. And so there's just a lot of things that I think about that. And I've even seen other astrologers who have used outdated terms. So trigger warning for anybody out there who've said like, oh yeah, this person tried to commit suicide or this person committed suicide, right? And I've said in those chats, in those courses of like, hey, the up-to-date term is complete suicide. side now. So this is one of those things where it's a slippery slope. If you have astrologers talking about mental health, if you have astrologers talking about sexuality, if you have astrologers talking about gender, and they don't have that inclusive, up-to-date language, that can harm a lot of people in those courses, those communities, those cohorts. Now, I'm not saying that's every astrologer out there. It just kind of shows there's just a lot of things that maybe astrologers can learn from sexual wellness consultants, therapists, or people that really have gone on to do those higher levels of education here. And maybe they don't want to talk about sex. However, if they have clients that want an astrosex reading, or have talked to them about their gender, or talk to them about these things or their kinks or their fetishes, who are they going to go to? And I don't know if they know any referrals for this. So I need to take a sip. So cheers, Shameless Squad. Let's get off my soapbox with that one. Maybe it's not a soapbox, but it's just one of those things that I constructively like really think about a lot when it comes to this stuff, right? What about those queer clients that want to talk to you about this and they can't? What about those kinky clients that want to open up but they can't? What about those poly clients that want to discuss certain things with you but they can't? What about the couple that, is later on in life and they're like, why are we struggling right now to communicate and blah, blah, blah. And maybe you're looking at like what's going on then or whatever. Maybe it's in that natal blueprint to actually look at some of those things. Okay, sips. So this is just one of those things that I just think it's important to be mindful of too. And I don't even think any astrologers watch my channel here, so that's not a big deal or anything like that. Like I don't need them to or anything. This is one of those things where it's like, hey, we need to be mindful of what we're putting out there on our platforms here specifically. And that even goes for like the spiritual community and the mental health community and the sexual wellness community, right? So this is a lot to be mindful of. And even when it comes to certain things in the astrological birth chart, you can kind of pick up and notice a little bit when it comes to medical astrology and when it comes to health issues and when it comes to different sizes of individuals and people. And so this is something where it's like, if you're not a health is at every size, like astrological practitioner, whatever you want to call yourself, that can be a slippery slope here specifically when it comes to microaggressions or things you might communicate. And some people then, I've seen astrologers do this as well when they say like, oh, this is my Aries placement and that's why I communicate that. And it's like, we can't blame the astrology. We need to be able to use it, understand these energies, understand these life lessons to really learn what is coming up for me here and how can I apply this to the future so that way I'm not doing harm, I'm not hurting other individuals, and I'm doing this in the most shameless, not shameful, harmful, communicative way here. So I had been doing one-off workshops and then I was like, okay, no one else is doing this. I'm going to look for all the research. I'm going to study all the birth charts. I have studied thousands of birth charts at this point in time because I'm so obsessed. And I am that person where I'm like, I want to go look up that person's birth chart. And then I think about more and more people. And then it's like, oh, cringe. Like only like celebrities and stuff or whatever, because it's a part of my second program because of different things that are happening, in real time. I'm like, let me go look at that bitch's birth chart. What's going on here? And then sure as shit, you see stuff, right? And some people are like, oh, well, I can see that because of this planet and these signs and this position. And it's just like, okay, but if you really knew the asteroids, if you really knew the ancient history and you really understood the different stories from these different characters and archetypes there, because some of the asteroids, are based in certain mythologies. However, others are also just fixed stars and it's like, okay, cool, not a big deal, whatever. Like there's no story behind that. So I looked that up the other day when I looked at like, oh, I have Industria asteroid on my ascendant. What does that mean? Is there some sort of myth with that? And it's just like, no. It's just like, bitch, you're going to be working really for a lot of different things and your work is, you're going to be your play and you're going to love what you're doing. And that's just how you might come off to the world and people because that's your passion naturally, right? So there's some where it's like that, but others it's kind of like, for example, if you look at someone's birth chart and you look at those different planets, those different placements, and then you look at the asteroids within a tight orb of degrees, like Salacia, for instance, is one that I talk about in my second program with the asteroids course. Portion of it because the devil's in the details. Salacia, there are so many different myths and stories talked about this one. So I apologize if I get it twisted or wrong. I have no problem in saying I fuck up too, okay? But one of the first ones with this myth was I believe it was Neptune wanted to marry Salacia, and then basically she didn't want to. And so she went and hid out at some sort of island, whatever, and then had dolphins. Neptune had dolphins, come send after her, whatever, and connect with her and talk to her and try to like win her back or whatever. And so basically, I think one of the stories goes, it's like she was like falling in love with this dolphin, and then like maybe this dolphin transformed into Neptune, and then like that's how he got to marry her or whatever. Another story is like she said no to him, and then it was like this whole big scandal because she didn't want to have sex with him and all this different stuff. And basically, let's blame the woman in the situation, right? Okay, because we know how that story goes. Okay, and that's what was going on. So there's kind of this energy around Salacia when it comes to that specific asteroid in a birth chart of sex scandals here, okay? But it's also something to be mindful of, like, was this created as a sex scandal? Was this a sex scandal that this person was destined to have in their lifetime if they have that within a certain chunk, and then different planets and placements? And there's some celebrities in the last couple of years I've been looking at, I'm like, oh, yes, they were. Yes. No matter what the story is, they were meant to experience this in this lifetime. And so it's kind of cool to understand a person's psyche when it comes to that with their sexuality and astrosex, as well as what they like intimately and the mental health side of it. However, this is why I wanted to create this, because of my training and my background and degree in counseling. I know the language, I have the language, right? To not be shameful to clients or anything like that. I've worked with folks who experience attraction to people that are less than 18 years old. They do not act on it though, right? That's different. And they come in, previously, and they just talk about the struggle of it and the guilt and the pain and the shame, right? And so this is one of those things where an astrologer may be like, that's completely wrong. Or other people might be like, that's completely wrong. Well, back in during COVID, there were articles that came out that research had shown that their brain was actually biologically programmed that way, and that is genetic and that is inherited. And this was so common, like coming up more and more and more, that there were questions of, are these individuals going to potentially be a part of the LGBTQ plus community in the future? And I know a lot of people have their own feelings and their own thoughts and their own opinions on it. However, let's put that aside and put ourselves in that other person's shoes. What if that was me? How would I be feeling? What is it like to be vulnerable with that type of information? I probably feel like an outsider. I probably feel like a loner. I probably feel so much shame, guilt, and embarrassment. And I probably feel like nobody understands me. And so that's the hard part around astrology and folks and people that don't have maybe the mental health research or sexual wellness background here specifically. And I'm not here to drag people. I'm just saying I felt like, wow, I am the right person to do this, to move forward with this here specifically. And so I'd been studying thousands of birth charts, right? Looking at the asteroids and coming up with 2 programs because they can help people. And I've been launching this, I've been doing this as a one-to-one with coaching and consulting with clients here, and giving them tons and tons of resources and worksheets that I specifically had written up for this, and other ones that apply to this in the past. Because Shameless Squad, like, I am a writer in different ways. I'm a writer to create resources. I'm a writer to psychically channel, and I'm a writer to say that shit's fucked up and I'm calling it out, right? So I feel like those are kind of my 3 categories, or to educate too, right? So maybe that's in one of those 3. And so I really felt this, inherent passion and urge to move forward and just be like, this is what's right for me. And I know the people that really want this, are curious about this, are going to be like, wow, I want to sign up for this, because this is new and up and coming. This is going to be something to help so many people in the future. And not only is it to learn about ourselves and our natal blueprints and birth charts, and like when you see it, like all these horoscopes and signs and all the different planets and all the different houses, because yes, your girl recorded over 111 videos in these programs and all those horoscopes here, right? You're like, wow, that fits. Wow, I had no idea with all my Virgo placements that I could be asexual. Wow, I had no idea with all my Gemini placements that, I may be androgynous in my gender. Or wow, I had no idea with all my Capricorn placements and all my Saturnian rule placements, I may be a little more kinky. Or wow, I had no idea about like all my Aquarius placements that maybe I'm a little more queer than what I thought. And I'm exploring this, right? Or wow, I actually need more emotional intimacy because of these indicators in my birth chart. Or wow, I can see why now my husband or my spouse or my partner or my partners want more physical intimacy because holy crap, it's written right there in theirs. And so it's kind of this energy when you read and you listen to these different types of videos and these horoscopes, the birth chart then begins to come alive. And you're just like, aha, epiphany. How does she know this about me? Is what coaching clients have said to me in the past when I've read them these astrological birth charts. They're just like, I had no idea what to think about this, Jackie. Holy crap, I have so many aha moments. I didn't think this was going to fit me. And you know what? It did. And I think a lot of people think it's just about sex. Sex literally connects to everything in the birth chart, I would say, because you can look at each planet, each aspect to each planet. You can look at the houses, the numerological degrees. You can look at the blueprint of like the asteroids written up to. You can look at how you communicate, what you're afraid of here, and not only sex, but just intimacy and relationships and pleasure here specifically overall. And so I had wanted to be able to record and record and record all these videos, but I felt like I had to get out of Minnesota. And so I went to Peru. And I know some people will probably like, why were you in Peru? I didn't really tell many people that I was going to Peru because when I told people, they called me a bitch, quite frankly. And I was like, yeah, I'm a bitch because I'm going to Peru and you could do this too. Cool. Right. And I'm like, I'm going to like literally record these things and work on all this stuff to help and to get help from just copywritten stuff and ideas and just making sure I have every single thing down, right, with this other person. And I know a lot of people might have been like, oh, she's going to Peru on her ayahuasca journey. Definitely did not do that. I don't want to throw up from medicine or drugs or anything like that, or plant medicine, whatever you might call it. And so when I went there, it just felt so alive. And I just felt so in my purpose in recording these videos and just so in my power in a sense of like, this feels right. And I know that this is going to impact a lot of people in the years ahead. And sometimes like you might feel that too when you're just like, God, this concept or this idea, I'm just curious, I'm intrigued, I want to learn more. And the fact that this has taken me over the last couple of years to develop these two programs, because I'm still writing stuff up for the Shameless Squad, goes to show that a lot of people are going to want this. A lot of people are curious about this. And a lot of people are going to try to figure out, how do I do this? And I wish, honestly, like I had so many dreams last night. And I don't know if y'all have been having so many dreams this past week too, because blood moon eclipse, we have so much shit in Pisces and like Mercury cazimi and just the astrology is astrology. But I had so many dreams last night. And I literally wish someone would have just created these programs so I didn't have to like reinvent the wheel here specifically. And I didn't have to, pull this all together here, but I don't want to even say have to. I got to do this and I'm proud of doing this. And this is something where it would have been way more easy and more convenient if someone just, gave me these courses, gave me these programs, gave me these practice tools here to really understand and develop these skills more and more and more. But this was something that clearly I was meant to do by myself here. And I was excited because I had recorded the whole entire first course when I was in Peru. And so this was like the first, like, what is it? Like the first 7 modules. I think the first program is 6 weeks. And then week 7 is like bonuses and gifts that I like give to you all of like more resources and stuff. Because I don't know about you, Shameless Squad, but like, have you ever been in a program where you just know, or a coaching or community, or even in therapy, or even like spiritual communities where it's just like, these questions are going to be asked. And so it's like, why not have those fucking resources just readily available? Like, you just know. And then you almost hate it when people don't share their resources or whatever. So that's like what week 7 is here overall. Yeah, you've been having so many dreams lately. Oh my gosh, same. Thank you for that confirmation. It's just been buck. And I'm like, why? Well, I know why, because those reasons I said, right? But it's just like, damn. So and I've been having so many dreams about specifically like my Astrosex decks here. So I'll show you them all because if you sign up or if you know somebody that wants to. These are all decks for learning. And I was thinking about this too. There are so many different types of learners out there, Shameless Squad, that I was like, I want a tangible tool. I want a tangible product. I want to have people be able to learn this stuff like the back of their hand. I want them to be able to become a master Astrosex astrologer within, so many weeks. 14 weeks I have of coaching and consulting calls with this. And this is something where I'm like, that might sound really fast, lickety split to a lot of people here, but when it's so niche, it's so much intensive, and we meet weekly for this stuff, and you have the decks, it's going to be on repeat here specifically. And I don't know about all of you. Like when it comes to paying for learning for a skill, I want like to be able to pay higher prices to learn faster, to do it quicker, to do whatever. But that's just me, because I'm like, just give me the tea, because I know I'm going to want this. And if everything's right there, then I know I have it. Right. And so I have my first Astrosex deck here where it goes through all these beautiful placements, and I use these in the videos. Ooh, that one's in the reverse here, Virgo. Pisces, all these different things, right? Where we have the sun, we have an affirmation, we have the planets here overall, we have the signs, we have their turn-ons, we have some other things here to be mindful of when it comes to the birth chart and the aspects, where it's not only one skill with this program, or programs, because it's two skills. And you might be like, what? Because you can literally learn how to read these oracle cards and decks in shuffling them out here, right? My second Astrosex deck, and I didn't even think I was going to make a second program, but we'll talk about that. Okay. My second Astrosex deck is literally, she is thick. Okay. She is 120 cards of all these planets across all the houses with different messages on them here specifically. So it's kind of like when you have, I think this deck is like 55, this one is 120. And it's like when you have 120 cards of something, like that could be a book, a short book for some people, right? Of information, of tangible tools and items to learn the stuff, again, back of your hand. And then when you see like, oh, this planet, the sun is in this house with these other signs, you literally see it all in front of you come alive. And then I have my asteroids deck where it's like the devil's in the details. So we got Lilith at the bottom here, right? Taking control of one's sexuality, unapologetic, independent, and saying, F yes, let's go, and stay shameless and untamed here, sexuality. It's like you put these together in front of you, and then you see it on a birth chart, and you just pick up the energy, and then you know how to read because it's coming alive here. And I have a checklist with all this stuff too in the second program, but the first program, it's like intro week, and literally I give you different astrological theories, pleasure work each time, the inner, the outer planets, astrology apps to use, why the chart ruler is important for rising sign horoscopes with love and romance and sexuality, same with the sun sign in each sign and each house, same with the moon sign in each sign and each house, and being able to find this for yourself and doing different pleasure work questions as well. And then the second week we talk about outer planets and then all the signs, turn-ons and turn-offs here. And those videos are broken up, as well as all the signs like foreplays, tips, sex toy recommendations, tricks as well too, to be able to learn about sexuality. Then we have Venus in the houses, and Venus in love and relationships in the signs, and then same with Mars across the signs and houses. Then we talk about retrogrades, which, Shameless Squad, a lot of people talk about just Mercury retrograde and just like Mars retrograde and Venus retrograde. And I get it, because those are like, the inner planets. So they do impact us a little bit more. But what about all these background retrograde characters going on, and what could be happening? And even those middle inner planets, like middle to inner planets, right? What about them? So I talked to you about all the different retrogrades, what to be mindful of when it comes to relationships and sex and intimacy and pleasure. And I even said this in a video, like we're in Jupiter retrograde until next Tuesday, March 10th here. And I said, watch out for this. Watch out for people, during this time, people are going to want to, go on adventures, make travel plans, and really commit to doing more. But then before you know it, they back out and less happens. And you can just watch this stuff like clockwork, because with Jupiter retrograde, you tend to get people saying they want to do these things, but then they're overcommitting here. Okay. It's like they're overly ambitious, overcommitting to their calendar, calendar, and then they are not reliant in those situations. So I'm always like mindful of the situations of who I'm doing what with, who I'm planning what with when it comes to just different family outings or friends here, because I'm just like, yeah, I bet certain people won't show up to this or that or whatever. So it's kind of one of those things where it's like, don't get my hopes up with that too, because I know what's going on in the sky. But you can literally use these as tangible tools with all the retrogrades in the next class, or in the next class in week 3. And then we go through Mercury through all the signs. And Mercury, in my opinion, is such an underrated planet, especially if your chart ruler is Gemini or Virgo or Mercury here, right? Or Uranus, the higher octave of it, because it's all about communication. It's all about intellect. It's all about like thinking and being mindful and intentional about your pleasure, about your intimacy, about your partnerships, about your relationships, Shameless Squad. And if you don't know how to talk about certain things in relationships, like what you do and what you don't want out of them, if you don't know how to be clear, if you don't know how to be honest, if you don't know how to be real with people, make repair attempts, say, I'm sorry, I effed up, I'm taking responsibility, right? If you don't know how to manage conflict, and if your chart ruler is Gemini or Virgo, and you have, astrologers and specifically Astrosex, different content information out there, and they're not talking about Mercury, it's like, okay, what else aren't you talking about? Because then you're not talking about sex, you're not talking about relationships, you're not talking about intimacy. And Mercury can tell us a lot about how we communicate sexually or not, okay? And if it's making a heart aspect, or how we do or how we don't talk about important things in relationships and intimacy of that. And it's such a beautiful planet. Like, I like Mercury, to be quite honest, because I like the spirit of it. I like being able to talk about these things, and I want to help people talk about these things that maybe feel shameful. And no, let's stay shameless in our sexuality and our spirituality, just in ourself here, right? And so I love being able to talk about Mercury. And Mercury is kind of similar when it does come to Saturn, when it can be related to a lot of the heady stuff with overthinking about things, being in one's head versus body, being maybe very analytical versus emotionally like present or grounded and feeling into things here. And when it comes to Saturn, that can be like how we hold ourselves back, how we are afraid, how we are fearful about certain things with sex. Saturn is like people with Daddy Saturn as their chart ruler. So Capricorn risings, for example, if people aren't talking to you about Saturn when it comes to astrosex, they're not telling you about your kinks. They're not telling you about, how you hold yourself back. They're not telling you about how you restrict yourself when it comes to sexuality, intimacy, love, relationships, pleasure. They're not telling you about how you're prone to depression and anxiety. They're not telling you about all these different secret things in a birth chart here that's important for you to be able to combat, for you to be able to change, for you to be able to move forward on and work very diligently at. And so it's one of those things where it's like, if people aren't talking about these chart rulers here specifically with astrosex or relationships or love or intimacy or pleasure, you're kind of getting screwed out of that astrological information. Not even kind of, you are, okay? And same with Jupiter here overall, because Jupiter is expansion. It's the opposite of Saturn, where it's growth, it's abundance, it's positive energy, right? And Jupiter, sometimes we can self-sabotage with this placement, meaning how are we trying to maybe only look at the bright side of the things versus the reality of the situation? How are we saying everything's fine when really things aren't fine, right? How are we saying, don't worry, all is well, versus no, this actually really sucks and I need to be honest and vulnerable with my feelings and my emotions. And so Jupiter is trying to get us to expand into something more. And I know a lot of astrologers talk about Jupiter's blessings and abundance and joy and all of that beautiful energy, right? However, Jupiter is one that we have to be mindful and careful of when it comes to how we're showing up. How are we being pushed to kind of grow and move forward, because Jupiter is kind of the pusher here. It's not always fun to personally grow or anything like that, but it will give you those hints and those signs and those synchronicities of how we're meant to expand here overall. So there's those horoscopes on the next week with all these different pleasure work exercises. And week 4 is Uranus, sexuality and relationships horoscopes through all the signs and all the houses, as well as Pluto in this one, and as well as Neptune. And then there's a bonus, Lilith and Chiron. So Lilith, for those of you that don't know, she is an asteroid that a lot of astrologers keep in their chart when they do readings here, because she is similar to Saturn in the sense of, Are there certain shadows or fears or things that could be coming up or projections, right? However, I feel like Lilith's story can also be not unscathed, that's not the word. Lilith's story can be kind of twisted in the sense of like, oh, Lilith is a bad placement, like your dark feminine energy. And it's really like, Lilith just said, no, I'm not taking shit and I'm not sleeping under Adam. Bye. That's where Eve came from, right? If you believe in that storyline, the biblical timeline, every single story and every single myth shows up differently. But people want to weaponize that. But there can be some shadows in regards of if you did want to do something, right? And people please in a situation, sexually, relationally, romantically, intimately, whatever the dynamic might be, even with friendships, right? That can really show up in our Lilith placement of how we almost hold ourselves back in order instead of letting ourselves be free here specifically. And Chiron is the wounded healer. So a lot of astrologers will keep him when they do birth chart readings because when you heal your own relationship wounds with your Chiron placement, that shows up how you can help heal others. Okay. It's like a secret weapon tool here. So this is kind of this innate wisdom and this ability to be able to master your Chiron in order to help other people with those unhealed wounds too here. Okay. And they can show up in relationships, of course, because we all got them. And then week 6, this is one of the most important things when it comes to Astrosex. There's a lot of numerology. There's a lot of aspects. There's a lot of LGBTQ plus placements. And so a lot of people in the future I know are going to be asking me, well, can I just take Astrosex 2 to learn how to get, the skills as a master Astrosex astrologer and not take course 1? And the answer is going to be no. And I'm going to tell you why. Because week 6, we literally go through LGBTQ plus placements, and that's not going to be included in the second course. It's just not. So if you don't understand asexual placements, you don't understand sapiosexual placements, you don't understand androgynous, you don't understand gender expansive placements, you don't understand a lot of this stuff here, you're going to be missing out on an abundance of information from week 6 only, and the aspects and the harshness of certain things in a birth chart too when we discuss this. So there's a lot of major and there's a lot of minor indicators. And in week 6, I tell you a lot about that as well, and really how to interpret and intuit like your own birth chart by doing this work for yourself to understand all of this with your natal blueprint. So that way you can actually do these readings for other people, right? They told us in grad school that, there would be a lot of people in a lot of graduate schools. Like if you wanted to become a therapist, you had to go to counseling, you had to go to therapy. It was required. And more and more and more and more grad schools nowadays are leaning that way, because how are you going to be able to counsel somebody if you haven't been to therapy yourself? And some people do it and some people do it great and phenomenally, right? That still doesn't mean they don't have unhealed wounds. And that still doesn't mean they've fully mastered, their own inner psychology here overall alone. And so this is one of those things, right, to be mindful of too. And that's the easiest example that I can give right off the bat here, because it's kind of like when people will say, if you are like, doctors make the worst patients. I heard a nurse say this when my mom was in the hospital, like nurses make the worst patients because nurses actually know how to do all this stuff. Doctors don't know how to do all this stuff, right? But like nurses can't do this stuff on themselves. They need to go seek medical care, right? So this is just one of those specific things, Shameless Squad, to be mindful of. Sorry, there's like a crow flying outside and it was just really big and I just didn't see it until now. But this is one of those things where it's like everybody needs to seek help for certain things in life. And when we don't actually do the work on ourselves, how are we going to then be able to move forward on that outer? And it's kind of like people can tell when you haven't done your work, right? Or people kind of get suspicious, right? Or their antennas go up specifically. And when it comes to Astrosex 1, this would be an abundance of information to miss out on. That's not even in the second program here. So for those that are thinking about that, wondering about that, asking me about that, the answer is no, because honestly, there's way too much to miss out on. And all the gifts in week 7 are sexual self-care through all the moon phases here, as well as the 12 signs, the astrology houses, 2 separate exercises for that, how to shamelessly talk about sex, and truly VIP sexual self-care guide through all the astrology seasons here. Okay. So when I'm telling you, like, this is an abundance of information, and that's just course 1 in program 1. there's a whole nother program to teach you more about this stuff. And I know some people are more like, I want to know more about this because I've learned about this a little bit too. Okay. One of the biggest things when it comes to reading astrology birth charts is the practice and really going through a checklist to look at all these things to bring it together in order to be able to do that, like with key themes, with certain indicators, with questions that clients are going to be bringing to you. And so this one is broken down into 6 weeks of programs with more of us going through the next couple of decks here too and explaining that, as well as difficult planets, exaltation planets, planets in detriment, just where signs aren't always comfortable as well, and being able to learn about stellium. So that is when a planet is in, or there are personal planets in one sign of at least 3, where it's like that energy is a little bit more subdued or more in that area of the birth chart where it's like, whoa, this is a lot. And internally, a lot of people might be feeling this energy specifically overall. When it comes to stellium. So that's like me. I've got a Cancer stellium, I got a Capricorn stellium, and I got that mommy daddy access. So it's like, wow, that's shown up in my relationships. Okay. Do you know when the classes will be, or should I book a call to discuss? Yeah, let's book a call and discuss that, Barb. I would absolutely love that so much. I am going to be continuously doing YouTube live videos to talk more and more and more and more and more. The classes, I'm still figuring out a timeline of when those are going to officially start. I'm thinking maybe around Gemini, Cancer season. We'll kind of see here. But I don't want to say that and then have myself lie. So let me figure it out, feel it out, because I'm still intuitively kind of, looking for signs on that one, because I'm updating. And the reason why, and I know that's a lame answer, right, to not tell you exactly when, because I don't know when. But the reason why is because I'm adding more to these programs here overall, because I'm like, holy crap, there's just so much more information that I want to give and I want to share when it comes to PDF guides and when it comes to digital downloads too, and more resources that I've discovered just even when doing this program. So you're going to see Jackie in these videos from like 2 years ago, and then you're going to realize, holy cow, Jackie has changed so much from like these videos to these videos, because I do look different in some of them. So you're going to be like, what the fuck? Like, she has grown so much. So that's kind of cool. You kind of get to see the progression of me. You kind of get to see where I'm all like on camera versus like more chill and mellow and, whatever. But let's definitely talk and let's book a call. And I can book a call with you in the chat here and send the calendar link. But one way too, if people are like, I'm in it, I want it, like, give me this today. The price of both of these, and this recently, let me pull it up. So the price of both of these, if people are like, I want to sign up today, I want early access right away, I want to get it going, right? Like, let's just do it, is on my Fourth Wall shop. And I will share my calendar link here when it comes to the Astrosex. Dun, dun, dun. Times for booking for, where's the chat? To book a call. Okay. Ignore me. I'm so flustered AF. Okay. Book a consultation call is here, and I have to add some more times on my calendar too. So yeah, sweet. Love it, Barb. Would love to chat more with you about this. But this is something where I want to share with you a little bit more about what you all get in the second program too. So the first program is honestly like a lot of astrology basics. So if you're a beginner, great. Like, this is something where you're going to learn a lot here. I'm going to incorporate different types of house systems very briefly as definitions to explain the difference about a couple of kinds in these courses and programs. And I'm going to talk a little bit more about just all the signs in the houses, sex, romance, relationship, horoscopes. Every single sign in your natal blueprint literally gets a horoscope for you to conceptualize, remember, learn these different things with these energies here overall. And if you're like an intermediate astrologer and you're like, but I need more in this area, some of the stuff maybe you review, but if you haven't really looked at this information on astrosex, intimacy, love, pleasure, sexual fears, mindset, shadows, different types of things, then this information is probably going to be new to you. you because I haven't found any books on these different things that I'm writing here. And a lot of this stuff has been, intuitively guided and some of it psychically channeled when it comes to pleasure work reflection questions as well. Because I don't know if you all get this, like you'll have to let me know. But when I truly get in the zone of writing, like some sort of resource or, PDF or whatever guide, exercise, pleasure work, I just have to finish it. I get in the zone, I'm writing it, I'm like channeling it. Everything else in the world is just, it doesn't matter. It's blocked out. And this is something where those resources are going to be helpful tools here and information. And if you're like an advanced astrologer and you're like, yeah, I don't really need to know about aspects, I already know about these certain things. Well, maybe there's something new that you might learn in this. And maybe if you're just very interested in it and you're like, I want to just get more information about this sexual energy that's coming through a birth chart here. This is new. This is up and coming, right? Then I ask you, inquire. Let's book a call. Let's talk, and let's do the damn thing. So yeah, a lot of this stuff, depending on what level of astrology you are at, it might be all brand new. It might be information that is, maybe some things that you've heard before, right? If there's certain signs that you typically gravitate towards to look up because it's like, your birth chart or your partners or different placements because you know a lot of those people in your life or you have a lot of them, right? Then some of that may feel like it's repetitive, but there are 12 zodiac signs here, right? And there's so much to learn about each one. And I just love all of them for the different gifts that they bring. And each one has their shadows too. And I talk about that a lot as well here. So no sign is perfect. Absolutely not. But I think when you actually learn to understand astrological energy when it comes to relationships, you really learn to understand people better. And then you kind of understand, okay, and this isn't like manipulative because I've had people ask me, well, like, is it manipulative if I'm kind of shape-shifting my energy to kind of fit someone else because I know certain things in their astrology? And I was like, no, if anything, that's probably more considerate because then you're probably going to be coming off as, if it's someone that's like needs to be more nurturing or more mothering or more loving, then your approach is going to change. If you have someone that's just like, give me the fucking tea or tell me what the fuck you want to say, then fine, that person you have that permission to move forward with and your approaches are going to look different. And I think that that's such a beautiful thing to be mindful of here as well. So let's talk about this. So some of the stuff in the second class, we talk about exaltation, difficult, detriment, fallen placements. We talk about karmic lessons, fame, wealth, marriage, in a birth chart with numerology. We also look and use the different decks to really understand what this is like energetically, to have it right in front of you so you can kind of sense and feel and have that as a tangible tool, as well as, it's great for auditory learners with video. It's great for visual learners. It's great for hands-on learners. Kinesthetic, I don't know if that's the right word, where you get the decks in this. And honestly, Shameless Squad, I say this over and over and over again. I'm going to say it again. I have invested, I'm not going to say how much, I don't care. I've invested over 5 figures in coaching and courses and different things in my business, whatever, fine, right? And ongoing education. I've never received an actual tangible tool like these decks, right? Like Oracle decks to actually like use to learn the astrology here. I've never, ever, ever, ever received any tangible tool. I'm not talking about an exercise. I'm not talking about go fill out these questions. I'm not talking about anything like that. Something that actually helps to learn these different areas in the course. I've never had that. And when I think about that with school growing up, sure, we have books, we have different things like that. But it's like I never had an actual experiential tool to use. And maybe that's the therapist me being like, let's, experiment with some of these things and learn about this more and more in different ways. And so you can use these decks to learn stelliums. You can use these decks to learn about the astrology in your chart and map out, okay, well, I have this planet aspecting this planet in this house over here. And then you're like, whoa, this is what this means here overall, right? So it's great for every single learning type here. And there's so many pleasure work exercises. Week 3 here, I want to talk about this in course 2 because this is probably one of the most important things when it comes to what astrologers don't always discuss with their clients. However, I feel like it's very important, especially like I wish I knew somebody in my younger years that could have done an Astrosex reading with me to look at the things that I'm prone to in relationships and my sexuality, because that would have helped me so much much and embody this shameless version of myself here and say, I don't give a fuck, right? Like, versus feeling like I have to hide, versus feeling like I can't talk about my pleasure, versus like I can't feel like I can't discuss sex with my partners or whatever. I wish somebody told me about some of these things. So I'm gonna talk to you about this. So hold on. I need to take a sip of cup of coffee. A cup of coffee. My Polish cha-cha, pra-cha-cha, that's great aunt. Whenever we would go to her house growing up, she would always say, anybody want a cup of coffee? So I think I was just channeling her a little bit. So anyway, back to Astrosex Shameless Squad. These are the things that we talk about in the next chunk of this that are super important. Different angles you need to know in a birth chart. How to know what signs you're attracted to in a birth chart. How you'll find love and meet people in a birth chart. As well as sexual and physical. BUSE indicators and hidden divorce and affair indicators. These are some things I wish people had courses on in astrology with everything with astrosexuality. So when you think about it, I'm not just breaking down all this stuff into mini courses because I feel like you need to have all this stuff in order to become a master astrosex astrologer. Like I've seen astrologers, break down different course. And that's not my style. That's cool if it works for them. For me, it's like, I want to give you everything and I don't want to keep like, let's do this now. Like I truly want to make sure that you get everything when it comes to this. So all the mystery things that we typically tend not to talk about in society or the world and relationships with intimacy and sex, we talk about in this program and in this course here. And these are things that we need to know because we need to learn how to discuss this with clients when we're doing these readings. And we also need to know the power of 3 is huge here, specifically Shameless Squad. And I'm not talking about Charmed, okay? I wish that'd be cool. But the power of 3 indicators, meaning if you see 3 indicators of, let's say, hidden affair factors in a personal birth chart for somebody, right? That means 3 pieces of tangible evidence. That more than likely could be a story the person's dealing with throughout their life, something they consistently attract depending on what houses they're in, or something they need to watch out for when it comes to cheating. And the type of cheating can depend on the element or what sign it is in too. And so that's something where I wish, astrologers told me that because I've been cheated on before, Shameless Squad, like at least a couple times. And that sucks, right? It is not fun at all. It's not like, oh my God, yay, I want to go get cheated on today. But one of the biggest things that helped me was actually looking at my birth chart and being like, oh, the fuck ever, it's right there, right? And then you see it and you're like, I can't unsee it. I can't go back. And one of the things that really helped me during those times, well, of course, therapy and also my sex therapy certification coursework, we really talked about, well, aren't we all polyamorous a little bit? You have parents you love, maybe. You have kids you love, maybe. You have partners or spouses you love, maybe. You have other people or friendships in your life that you love, maybe, right? And I say maybe because that could be different for every single person, but you probably love more than one person in this world. And so when you look at that, and you think about that when it comes to cheating, and then you learn more about different books when it comes to sexuality, and you read things like Sex at Dawn here and the different anthropological research and that, you're just like, whoa, like not everyone is really meant to be monogamous, and the animal kingdom kind of shows us these different things, right? So it's really fascinating to learn. And I'm like, wow. So I have a whole different perspective shift, right? And that was something that made me be very mindful in the future. If anybody that I was in a relationship with or a partnership with, if I were to be cheated on, I would be able to understand a little bit more and give a little bit more grace of like, why I'm okay or why we could work through this or things that we'd have to figure out just from learning and being in that course. And that's what I want to tell you. That was a supportive community. That was courses. And those were people like doing the work when it comes to sex therapy certificate. And when it comes to this with this astrology courses, this is you being able to look at your blueprint in order to then be able to understand all these different things to read for others. And you also get to be able to get more of a deeper dive on like whole sign house system versus Placidus, which are 2 different theories and tools and ways to look at a birth chart here overall, as well as certain aspects, how to see them in astrology. We break that down. And then we go through like all the asteroids that are like more so sex, love, seduction here. This deck is a little bit smaller, but it's still got like a shit ton of cards and stuff in here. And I didn't want to put in the energies of like maybe the harsher experiences that people might have with sex or sexuality, just because this stick didn't feel aligned with that. Okay. But if there are questions about that in the program and the consulting calls, we can definitely talk about it too. Right. But this is plenty just to get started with right off the bat, to learn the stories, to understand the themes, the characteristics, the trends here too. And you really learn in aspects or asteroids in the birth chart here specifically all about what was I going to say? A person's sexuality and especially their gender too, and even kinks and fetishes. Like you look at them and then you're like, you know their stories, you read their stories, and you're just like, whoa, that checks out. And then we go through an example of asteroids in the birth chart too, where I break it down for you, where it has that tangible proof here when it comes to famous celebrities' birth chart, which I love and I'm excited about. And then we get to week 5. So I know this sounds like a lot, right? So we have 6 weeks in the first program, and then we have 6 weeks in the second program, and then week 7, both are gifts, right? But week 5 is literally, we go through so many celebrity birth charts here, okay? Where I tangibly show you and I break it down to you certain different things in regards of celebrities' sexuality in their birth chart, scandals, gender. I'm looking at the examples that I did up here overall. Someone who is bisexual, someone who is trans, multiple people who are trans in here. BDSM and kinky clients here, celebrities. We also go through a mystery celebrity birth chart with, it's like, we try to dissect this and learn a little bit more. It's like poly, big family, or multiple partners or marriage. Like, I don't know here, right? So it's a conceptualization and different types of scandalous birth charts. And we talk about this specifically overall. And then we do a pleasure work example on someone's birth chart in here. Then week 6 is truly all about how to be able to figure out what's best for you when charging for consultations in the future, when doing these readings in the future, understanding things in regards of business, and as well as like how much time to prep, how much to charge, what to be mindful of with astrology readings, how to deal with clients' intentions and feedback here specifically overall, and what not to say to clients. Because I've had a lot of shameful experiences from astrologers where you could just tell that their communication, they like looked at my birth chart and they were like saying certain things, and I share that more with you in the program. And I was just like, no, I don't feel this. No, I don't agree with that. No, this, no, whatever. And they were asking me more questions versus telling me about certain things in the chart. And it just came off very probing and provoking and very just wrong in regards of their interpretations. And so that's kind of the thing where you also have to be mindful of if and when clients are like, oh yeah, no, that doesn't really resonate or whatever, how many questions you're asking. But then we also talk about different things when it comes to money strategies and astrology birth charts and boundaries and payments and readings here. And so Shameless Squad, like some of you are gonna be like, holy cow, you charge this much? Yes, I do. For an hour Astrosex one-on-one birth chart consultation, I charge $5.57 per hour. 2 hours, it's double the rate. And you might be like, oh my God, that's so much money. Well, how much money are you gonna pay for these problems later, right? And when it comes to this, if people actually are serious, then they're gonna book those readings, and they do, right? And this is one of the things where too, some people just want their chart read, and other people are like, no, I want you to teach me. I want to get down to the nitty gritty of it. And so when you think about it, what I'm charging is, 5, 6 maybe payments of a personal birth chart, or maybe 7. And it's like, less than that, but you get even more of this abundance of information. You even get even more of 90-minute coaching and consulting calls with me, because I don't know if y'all have ever been on a coaching call or a consulting call, and then it's like a huge group of people, and then you don't even get to like ask your question, or it just feels like it's too much, it's too rushed, it's too whatever. I have, and I'm just like, okay, that doesn't feel like we had enough time, and it just felt like super rushed, and then it felt like there was a lot of fluff, and it just felt like we just are coming here because we're excited to learn. We want to ask our questions already. We've been doing the work this past week in your course. Hello, let us talk. So I have created intentionally 90-minute coaching and consulting calls on this for that fact specifically. And consulting is getting your questions answered and knowing what to do. Coaching is like Beetlejuice, like say this, say this, say this, say this, right? Like this is the play. Run it back, run it back, run it back, run it back, right? Like it's wash, rinse, repeat. And then week 7 is other gifts. When I talk about different book recommendations, when I talk about different deck recommendations too, and when I talk about all these things. And so really you're learning to be able to not only read all this stuff in a birth chart for others, but learn about your own personal placements and planets and everything here. And when I had been talking to astrologers about this, they were like, wow, that first course is and everything course and coaching and consulting calls and an oracle deck, like that's $6,000 at least, Jackie. And then I told them more and more. And then they're like, and PDF pleasure work exercises. And then I told them and they were like, no, that's more like 5 figures. And then you're doing another course that's like close to this much. And I was like, yeah. So I'm not charging that for this because I want people who really want to learn this stuff. And I know this is something that's going to blow up over time, Shameless Squad. And I know this is going to be something that grows and gets bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. And so if you want to be a part of the first ever World's Astrosex 1 and 2 programs, I highly recommend that you book a consultation call with me. It's down in the, chat below, but I'll pin it to the comments here too. And this is something where we can really discuss and talk about everything that you have in regards of your questions, how this can help you, what it is that you're looking for to change or transform. Because when I've done this work with one-on-one clients in the past, people, and you can read the testimonials on my website, like I don't need to toot my own horn, but I've had clients say like, wow, you've helped me in 2 weeks of doing this work, like 2 weeks to become more sexually confident. Like, are you kidding me? 2 weeks to actually communicate better about sex and in the relationship with their partner, 2 weeks to feel better about feeling like upset, dragged down, like things aren't working in your relationship, and being able to be in a supportive one-on-one environment. Right now, if I do one-on-one coaching with people in the future, that stuff and consulting, that's a different package and price here overall. That's 5 figures, Shameless Squad, because that is more energetically for me and my time and my energy with you. However, this is like the one for groups. So it's like, if you're like, no, I'm willing to pay you 5 figures, Jackie, then I'm not going to block a blessing. Hit me up. We can talk about it, right? We can come up with a package for you. And if you're this person that's like, I really want this group format, I want this Discord chat here, I want to be able to have access to Jackie during the week, I want to be able to have 90-minute coaching calls during the week, I want to, and consulting calls, I want to be able to use the decks here, right? Like, then why the hell not, you know? So there's a lot that was in these 2 programs and in these 2 courses, and just there's so many bonuses. And I even talked to you about sexual energy goddesses, 4 very important ones in the second program. And that's something that I'm still working on too, Shameless Squad, because I just want to be able to give. I want to give you all this information. I want to give you all this knowledge and all this stuff. And I know there's people out there who charge like $25,000 for like 2 courses and programs and coaching and consulting and whatever. And I just want to give this to the people who actually want the information, right? And the word legacy has been a synchronicity that's been coming up a lot for me during the past week. And you'll have to let me know if you've been seeing any signs or synchronicities in the chat too when it comes to this stuff. But astrologically, with all these changes we're going through, the 555 energy, and these shifts here overall, I've been seeing a lot of synchronicity of the word legacy, of like, well, what's the legacy you want to leave on this earth here? Do you want to, have these beautiful, abundant blessings of courses and charge $25,000 for people to get access to that in a time where we're in the space economically where people want to be able to get the biggest bang for their buck? Like, no, I would rather be that person who's running this, being generous by giving so much for such a lower cost rate compared to, those individuals. I want more people who actually want this to come, to be able to have access, to be able to afford it, to be able to, the ones that want to be serious about this, right? Versus ones that are like, I don't want it to be, so high end to the point of where nobody ever gets this information or knowledge in one buttoned up course here, right? And this is something, Shameless Squad, all of this is lifetime access. And it's like, if you have certain questions and I'm like, oh, that would actually be a really great video. Like, I'm not perfect. I could have missed certain things here, right? So if you ask me certain questions in these 90-minute calls here, I'd be more than willing to make a video, upload it, share that link, right? When it comes to astrology specifically here, right? If I can't do it on that live, like one-on-one coaching call, or if it would feel like, oh, can you look into this a little bit more, right? Or have you looked into this? I'm just very curious. And if I have, I'll share and I'll let you know what I have or haven't been able to find here, right? But if there is something where I missed, I'm happy to create more for you, right? I have no problems and being like, oh my God, I found this other great resource. Check it out. Here you go. Oh my gosh, here's 3 other Oracle decks that could be really great if you want to learn more about just general astrology. Oh my God, here, this, right? So this is one of those things where I feel like I know a lot of people are going to want this, and I know a lot of people are going to want help with this. And this is one of the things where when it comes to astrosex and spirituality, so many people already look for this stuff already, be it in spiritual communities, be it in astrology. And this is one of those things, if you've kind of been feeling like, I don't really know where to start with all of this, but I feel like I could learn a lot through this astrosex lens. It's going to be such a beautiful way for you to be able to do readings in the future where you have this general knowledge of everything, as well as this very niche energy with this too. So an example of that is like when we go through houses in a birth chart here specifically, we want to look at those underlying themes here, right? Anything I teach you in this can literally be applied to money, can literally be applied to spirituality, can literally be applied to whatever. Because one of the biggest parts that people don't talk about enough is holistic astrology. Let me explain this, where no matter what, even if you don't have planets in certain signs, you have those houses in your birth chart, right? You move through those seasons. You more than likely have those body parts in your body, right? There are still lessons to be learned, and there are still astrological technical tools and ways to look at those different areas when it comes to astrology, horoscopes, or what to expect in the future. And not a lot of people realize that, right? And so it's kind of like when we move through those different energies, or and we just look at something natally, that can help us understand a little bit more. Because if you have nothing, let's say in your Leo house in your birth chart, right? But then you want to look to your sun sign for more information, which Leo is ruled by the sun here, right? There could be some different themes that are attached to that with that empty house here overall that may be important for wherever your sun sign is across those 12 houses. And so there are so many tools and techniques to kind of look underneath like the radar of things at what's hidden that a lot of people don't always necessarily talk about. I know some astrologers will do that on YouTube here with their different readings and be like, oh, well, your chart ruler's here, so let's look at those houses and what else is being influenced in your story, right? And same with that for general astrology, but it is so different when you look at your astrological natal blueprint here specifically, and really see these things come alive here. So I just wanted to let you all know, this is what I've been kind of working on the past month or so, weeks or so. I've been writing a lot. I've been editing a lot of the stuff that I've previously written. And I know, like, I'm not perfect, and good is better than done, or done is better than perfect, right? And I just want to make sure that it all looks, just right. And I have everything in how I want it to be written for those that choose to join here overall. And it's kind of one of those things too. You choose to join early, you have the course videos and everything like that for longer and sooner and more time, where if you want to start sooner, you can rather than later, right? You don't have to, but I'm not going to lie. Like, you don't have to watch all the videos. However, you can watch the ones for your specific signs this first go around, right? But you can always go back when you're like, oh, I want to relearn about, the Sagittarius part video with these planets here, because now I'm doing a reading for someone and I don't remember what Jackie said about these specific planets in Sagittarius, for example, right? And let's say you don't have any of that in your chart and you're like, oh, well, I need to go back and restudy this and relearn this and remember this, or I need to pull out one of my decks here, right? And really take that one step at a time, right? So there's a lot to be mindful of, but I'm writing a lot about giving you more information about the different gods and goddesses with the asteroids. I'm writing more information on pleasure work exercises. I'm writing more information up on like horoscopes because I'm just like, shameless God, I just want to give you all of it. And I know writing takes a long time. So I had been working on how many of it? I've got like 33 pages. And when I say pages, it's like a Google Doc of 33, right? But then it's like pages, like 10 pages, 12 pages, 20 pages, whatever of stuff here overall. So it's like I was rewriting stuff about sun and the moon and rising sign and like an emotional intimacy checklist for all of you this week. I was rewriting stuff about reflection questions on LGBTQ plus placements. And I was breaking this down because I'm surprised I didn't have, and I couldn't find it on my computer, but I had a previous worksheet document, Mercury retrograde, right? But I couldn't find it in my computer where I really broke down, what comprises of your sexuality, what comprises of your gender here, right? And like those different definitions as a worksheet that I used to use with clients all the time here. So I was like, okay, I get to rewrite that, right? Because I want to give that, as well as reflection questions on sexuality and gender. And when I say like, I don't want to minimize it, but 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, like those 6 write-ups, I'm not even kidding you, are probably close to like 50 pages or 50 to 100 pages. So when I'm giving you all this stuff, I'm giving you all this stuff. I promise. I'm giving you everything with this. And I want to be able to add more of the things with the asteroids because I feel like there's just so much, like I said, so many different stories, and I want to update different things with that too in regards of it as well, and just give you more and more and more and more. So I've really been working on a lot of this stuff this last week and the past couple weeks with writing, and holy crap, does writing take a long time for this girl over here, and that's okay, and that's fine. It's whatever, right? But I want to share this video with all of you to just share my creations, my babies, my manifestations. I know I like birthed this last June, and then I had a lot of personal things go on in my life. So for those who have signed up, like, thank you. I'm grateful for you for just being patient with me as I launched this, as I have personally gone through a lot, and professionally, I'm like ready to move forward with this and not hold myself back anymore when it comes to Astrosex. And if you have any questions, you can feel free to put them in the chat or always comment after the fact too if you're watching the replay back. But if you have questions, feel free to book a call with me. I don't bite. It'll be on Zoom and I'll send you a link, whatever. We'll set it up. And if there are other questions that you have, bring them there. Or if you're like, oh my gosh, how do I sign up? Like, let me do this right away, right? Like, let me get those decks ASAP here. I don't blame you because they're cute. And I want to learn, then, reach out to me. Let me know. I'm here. I'm excited. I am happy to be able to work with you on this. And you personally get to know me more throughout these courses and this community and everything else too. It's just going to be fucking lovely. With the decks where I get them from, I'm not going to lie, it can take about 2 to 3 weeks shipping, right? I've seen that more so around the holiday times though, when I've done my decks, or those certain kind of heightened times here. But sometimes I've gotten my decks within 8 days. And other times it's been maybe like a week or a week and a half. So it just kind of depends on that too. If you're like, well, how soon can the decks get here? Like, no, they're not Amazon Prime. It's not where I get them from or anything like that. It can take a little while, but I would update you on like shipping and everything like that as well too. And this is for, I know a lot of couples have asked me in the past, like, oh, can we do this together? Yes, but that would be a separate price. And I'm going to say why. I've been more single in my life than I have as a couple. And literally singles don't get that privilege, right? There is couples privilege in regards of stuff, or even business privilege of someone having a business partner and being like, well, can we do this together? Yes, but both of you need to be paying the price. And it's a tax write-off if you're a business owner. You know what I mean? So I know a lot of people try to get around that specifically. However, that's something where it's like, this course is for one person to sign up on. This is not a course where you're going to show up on the Zoom calls and then your business bestie is going to be next to you. Like, no, I'm not tolerating that. Like, just pay the fee. It's already so low of a discounted price, and you get lifetime access, and you get so many tools and so many things when it comes to this. So, shameless tangent over. I know people have asked me that before, and it's just like, no, this is what it is. And there's been a lot of people who have actually really loved doing this work with me, so I'm just grateful for those that have. I'm so thankful for you, because you've definitely inspired me to take it to this next step further, and doing this with groups and teaching these skills and this knowledge here, and really giving a lot to this, because if you know me, I don't half-ass anything, genuinely. Like, if I want to do something, I give it my all, and I'm going to give it my heart, and I'm going to give it my soul. And that's exactly what Astrosex is. And even if you're like, I don't really care, but I just, I'm inspired by your story, Jackie, or I'm curious about why you're doing this, right? But I don't really know if I want to sign up for this or have this tool in my toolbox. That's fine. Like, I just encourage you to do whatever it is that feels right for you. And also just know this is your sign. This is going to be big in the future. So if you're questioning it, genuinely, let's talk. Let's talk about it, and let's explore a little bit more. But if there are any other questions in the chat, let me know. I know this is a lot of info. I'm going to go live a little bit more in the future and just talking about different planets and different signs and different things with Astrosex. And I don't know if I'll be doing that kind of on a weekly basis. I kind of want to do hump day lives for that one, but I haven't necessarily decided or seen it yet too. So yeah. If there's no more questions in the chat, or you're watching the replay back, feel free to reach out to me. Thank you so much for all your support, Shameless Squad community. Thank you, members. Y'all are amazing. And if you're not on my newsletter, if you are on my newsletter and you did not, see what I wrote up today, there's some different secret discounts and codes and gifts in there too. And same with members on the membership tab too. But that is something that I am excited to move forward with all of this, share with more of you in regards of this part of me, this sexual energy, this birthing my babies, manifesting, right? And actually like moving forward with this in this next year. So thank you, thank you, thank you all for being here. Make sure to like this video, share it with anybody that you think would be a really great fit for Astrosex. Or if you're like, damn, yeah, I could see myself doing this. I want to learn more about Astrosex and astrology, even though I'm like a sexpert or an expert or whatever. Or even if you're a sex therapist and you're like, oh my God, I want to do this because I could see this being a big thing in the future, then reach out to me, because why the hell not, babies? I know there's been a lot of, witchy therapists and different types of therapist groups and communities that are like, what is this? So this is it. This is going to happen in 2026. I'm excited to work with all of you, and I can't wait to go live more and more and more for this too. I love you. As always, stay tuned for more and stay shameless.